women's lacrosse team domination of Yale, 19-9 in the quarters in the Dome last Thursday to cruise into yet another Final Four, 10th in the history of the program, and it will be the first that our next guest gets to play in. She is Kaci Benoit, a freshman defender on the Orange women's lacrosse team. Kaci, welcome in. Thanks for hopping on the show today. Congratulations. What's this like for you? I know a lot of your teammates have been there, done that before. What's it like for you getting ready to go to your first Final Four?
Thank you for having me. It's super exciting. You dream of this moment all your life, and now it's finally here. So it's a surreal experience, but it's very exciting.
And, you guys had that locked away pretty quickly on Thursday. How complete a performance was that from your team on Thursday that you put out there against Yale?
We really put it all together against Yale. We've been practicing super hard. The coaches have been really amping it up, and we've been pushing each other. And I think it really showed in the game against Yale.
Yeah, you guys, hopped in front early and ran away from it. I'm intrigued from your perspective because, there's so many players on this team. Emma Tyrell had a massive game on Thursday with 7 goals. Emma Ward, who's been here forever, had a huge game. And we can go on and on with names like this down the roster. So many of these players have been in this position before. What do they tell somebody like you who's going through this for the first time?
I think I've just been watching them throughout the season, and the moment I got here, they've been such big role models to me and such great leaders, all of these older girls. And I look at the style of the play, the confidence they have going into it, and I just look at that and take it in for myself.
And I say, you've not been one lacking in confidence, right? You can't be to be in your position. You show up at Syracuse, and you've literally started every game all season. What gave you the confidence to fit in with a group like this right from the get-go?
All of them were so welcoming, so I think that made the transition a lot easier for me. And I also think my high school experience gave me a lot of confidence. I was going against such great players every single day in high school, like Chloe Humphrey, who plays for UNC, and all these great girls, and I think that just prepared me for Syracuse.
For those that don't know, Kaci went to Darien in Connecticut, which is year in and year out one of, if not the best, high school lacrosse teams in the country. Tell me about the practices in high school. I imagine they had to be harder than the games most weeks. What were those practices like when you had 20 some odd D1 players out there to go against?
Practices were awesome. They'd be so fun because everyone was so competitive, and obviously we're all such great friends, which made it even such a more fun time. And our coach was awesome, Lisa Lindley. She really gave everything she had to that program, and it really prepared all of us.
How have you played against teammates so far in college? I imagine you guys are, spread out pretty well amongst the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I've actually played against one of my fellow defenders, Kate DeMark, who's a great defender for UVA. She started this year as well. She's awesome. Played UNC, played against Chloe. Unfortunately, she was hurt this year, but I expect her to do awesome things when she's not hurt. Trying to think who else we played against. When I was a sophomore, our senior captain, this girl Shannon, she plays for Yale. Yeah, they're sprinkled out throughout all the teams. It's hard to find a roster without somebody from Darien on there with the just volume of players that you guys have produced over the years. As we got Kaci Benoit here. So as mentioned, you started every game, and it's not just that, because we know how hard of a schedule that Kayla puts together for you guys to play. So the season opener was Northwestern against the defending national champs on the road, and you find yourself guarding the defending Tewaaraton winner in Izzy Skane. How much of a welcome to college lacrosse moment was that? Well, all right, here's game one. It can't get much harder than this here going forward. It was a welcome to college lacrosse, but it was awesome. I feel like I've worked my whole life for that moment and these moments throughout the season, and it just felt very rewarding to be able to play against the Tewaaraton winner.
I'm curious about this here, because Kayla Trainer is your head coach, and I know she is young in the head coaching game, but for somebody like you who's a freshman, you had to be coming up right through youth lacrosse when she was still playing at Syracuse. How aware were you, in your younger days, getting into the sport of Kayla Trainer, the player, right, when she was doing it in college?
Yeah, me and my dad would watch all the Syracuse games. We would watch every single lacrosse game when I was younger. So I was definitely aware of an amazing player she was, and definitely a role model growing up.
It feels like, and I've talked to your teammates about this before. Like it feels like you watched, especially when she was with Syracuse, and then the pro league after that. Like the amount of young girls that like just migrate to her. Like she had a magnet on her, like autographs and stick signings and selfies and whatever. Do you still get that sense of her? I don't know if celebrity is the right word, but just general popularity out there in the sport of girls and women's lacrosse?
I definitely think so. She's just such a role model to everyone. Like, she's so knowledgeable about the game of lacrosse, and I think that's why people see her as such like an amazing coach, an amazing athlete, and I feel honestly honored to be able to play for her. I learn something every day from her, and all of the coaches we have. We're all outstanding.
Kaci Benoit's with us, and here we go. You're back in the Final Four. Well, you're there for the first time. Your team's back in the Final Four, and it's the same matchup as last year, and we know this is becoming kind of an annual thing, Syracuse and Boston College playing at this time of the year. What is the feeling like between you guys? Rivalry, dislike? What's the general vibe like when you look across the field and see Boston College over there?
I definitely think there's a rivalry, which is what you want in sports, and every year you want to play a good rivalry team and come out on top. And I think we've been preparing a lot, and we're very excited to play against them again.
What's the tricky part of playing against these guys? Because we've seen it in both games this year. I think it's the case with a lot of the games recently where Syracuse will have a lead or it'll be a very tight game, and somehow BC pulls it out down the stretch. What do you notice that unifies these games that is like, all right, here's one or two things we really need to lock in on that have prevented us from winning these games in the past?
They're a very well-rounded team. They're super athletic, super gritty, and I think we've been working really hard on the hustle plays and the little things, and I think that's what will help us this game.
You seem unflappable, Kaci. Do you think that's going to be the case when you step on the field on Friday night, or do you think there will be a moment when you're like, wow, I'm a freshman and this is the Final Four? How do you think it's going to hit you on Friday?
I think there will definitely be that moment, like when I step on the field. But this is what I wanted to come here to do, and I'm super excited to have the opportunity to do this, and I feel super grateful. And I'm just very excited to get there.
And, I mentioned that there's so many, like, veterans and, 5 and 6 year players on this team, the COVID year and injuries and all that have been here a really long time. Do you notice the drive of the Emma Tyrells, the Wards, all those players we mentioned, Delaney Schweitzer and that, like, hey, last crack at it. We've been so close before. Like, what is the feeling from the veterans as they go back to a Final Four?
I definitely think there's this feeling of like legacy that they have because all the great players before us, and I know a lot of the girls had sisters and everything on the team, and I know a lot of them want to do it for their sisters and their fellow teammates that they had in the past.
Last thing for you, Kaci. What do you sense it would mean, to you, to the team, to the program, to the whole thing, for Syracuse to do this, to go down there and win the program's first national title? What would that mean to you guys?
It would mean everything. Like, our goal is to go down there and win 2 games and come back with the trophy. And I think it would just put it all together. It really would. We've been working so hard for this, and the teams before us have been working so hard for this, and we really think this is the moment.
Well, hey, it could be less than a week from getting a chance to raise that trophy in the air on Sunday down in Cary, North Carolina. All right, Kaci, safe travels down there this week. Best of luck on Friday. We'll all be watching. Thanks so much for hopping on for a few today.
Thank you so much.
There she is, freshman starting defender Kaci Benoit. Started all year long, and heck, no reason to think she's coming out of the starting lineup anytime soon. If you're guarding the best player in the country in the first game of your freshman year, I think that tells pretty good things about where your career is going to go going forward, huh? And it's going to the Final Four this Friday. The Orange are scheduled to play at 5:30 on Friday. Here's the thing about that. The first game, which would be the favorites, the defending champs in Northwestern, and Florida, kind of the party crashers this year. They upset Maryland the other day, last Thursday in one of the quarterfinal games, though Florida has been a program that's been there before. Shout out to their associate head coach, Reggie Thorpe, longtime aide of Gary Gate up here. Always good people, that Reggie. That game's scheduled at 3. There is there a number less than 0? There is a less than 0% chance that Syracuse's game actually starts at 5:30 on Friday. The length of, like, a Final Four women's lacrosse game, like, unless Northwestern like rips Florida limb from limb, which is possible because they're really good and gets like a running clock. Unless that happens, there's not a chance in hell that game doesn't take 2.5 hours. So Syracuse is scheduled to play at 5:30. Like, be prepared. Preparation is key. Hydration is key when it comes to the Final Four, especially down in North Carolina. I'm gonna set the over under at, I don't know how much time they got to put up between games. It's got to be at least a half an hour. I'm setting the over under. Find this on FanDuel or DraftKings or something. The over under first draw. Kate Mashevsky out there on the field versus whoever BC's got. I'm setting the over under at 6:15 for Friday. Yeah, I'm going 6:15. It's scheduled for 5:30. Yeah, I'm going over under 6:15. Either way, Friday night, Syracuse, BC. Can the Orange end the drought against the Eagles? Hopefully, because that Boston College. Can they get him? Syracuse is. I'll say this, and I've said this before, and I will now say this again. And there is no question. Syracuse is the best program in the history of women's lacrosse that does not have a national championship. There's no, like, numbers, vibes, whatever. There's no question. They're the best program that does not have a national championship. So here's hoping that they no longer need to have that title next to them. It's like Xander Schauffele, best player never to win a major. Here's hoping that monkey gets off the bag this weekend. All right, let's hit a break. We'll get Tim in here. We'll do a little 411. We'll do that when we come back right after this here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.